right, everybody, welcome to today's edition of Notre Dame Daily, of course brought to you by Fan Arch. I'm Pete Mulroy, and I wanted to begin today with some great, albeit expected, news concerning three Notre Dame football players in recent times. Star running back and Heisman finalist Jeremiah Love, who we know finished third, along with backfield mate Jadarian Price and Bednarik semifinalist Leonard Moore, were named to the 25 Walter Camp All-American roster. There's more. I'll get to it in a few moments. Love and Moore were tabbed first-teamers through the camp, with Price landing on the second team as a kick returner. Now, Love and Price were just absurd once again this season, combining for over 2,000 yards on the ground and 29 touchdowns. Jay Love's performance catapulted him into the Heisman race basically from the start of the season, and he'd ultimately again finished third behind Fernando Mendoza of Indiana, who won the award, and Vandy quarterback Diego Pavia. Price, on the other hand, would have been the best lead back for any team in the country had he not played in South Bend. Even at the Dome, Jadarian was featured at major moments in most every game, just as you would a lead back. But for the purposes of the camp All-American second team, it was Price's special teams ability that earned him that additional recognition. The Texas native returned 12 kicks for the Irish this season, leading all FBS players with a 37.5 return average and 2 kick return touchdowns. His 15 total touchdowns overall, receiving, rushing, and in special teams, 9th in all of America. Moore was a camp preseason All-American entering his sophomore campaign, as he's quickly developed, as we know, into the best pure cover corner in the sport. Now, in addition to landing on the camp preseason list, Moore was listed as a preseason All-America by ESPN, CBS Sports, the AP, Phil Steele, Sporting News, and additional outlets. Just more examples of just how highly regarded across the landscape of college sports he really is. Across 10 games this season, which included him missing action in 2 of them, Leonard grabbed 5 picks, 7 pass breakups, 12 passes defended, and 31 total tackles in just another monster stuffing of the stat sheet. This was an Irish defense that grew into one of the best in the nation after a slow 2-week start to begin the season. Leonard Moore was a massive reason for that success, which also included the Irish secondary leading the nation in interceptions with 21. In this season's win over USC, you remember in that slogfest with just nasty, cold, rainy weather in South Bend, Moore did a great job locking down Trojan star receiver Mekhi Lemon, who won the Biletnikoff Award this past weekend for being the top receiver in the nation. Ohio State fans didn't like that, thought it should have been their own Jeremiah Smith, but it was Lemon who came away with that. But Moore did a great job in limiting him and not allowing him to create chaos and cause damage down the field in Notre Dame's eventual 10-point win. Now, to top it all off, both Love and Moore were also named to the Associated Press All-America first team, with Price landing on the third team as the all-purpose athlete. It really turned out to be a great past weekend from an individual standpoint for this Golden Domer trio, though we all know where they'd rather be, what they'd rather be preparing for is playing this weekend in the college football playoff. Nonetheless, congratulations to Jeremiah, Leonard, and Jadarian. It is without question well-deserved. And touched quickly yesterday on the idea that Jeremiah Love will most likely announce the decision to head to enter the April NFL draft at some point this week. But that is not definitive. It's incredibly understandable that the idea of being a top 10 pick in the upcoming draft would be too appealing to ignore at this point in his career. But Love's undying passion for and devotion to the University of Notre Dame football program is also hard to ignore. Earlier in the week, Love said in speaking with ESPN that while he will, quote, most likely, end quote, announce the decision to head to the NFL, that he continues to discuss options with his family. Love also dismissed the notion that money will play a role in his decision, noting that the desire to play with his brothers at Notre Dame for one more season would be the main reason he decides to return. Also makes sense. With the financial opportunities that exist in college sports now, it's not like Love would be totally postponing his chance at career/life-changing paydays. He, of course, wants to do right by himself and his family, and that means helping to support financially. I think we would all agree, we would all do the same thing. Ultimately, though, Love said the decision will be his, and it will be entirely based off how he feels about all areas involved, and if he, at least at this point, believes he is ready to make the leap to the pros. And while that deadline to declare for the 26th NFL Draft is Monday, January 5th, it is again expected that Love's announcement will come perhaps this week or early next. That January 5th deadline, mind you, is for those players who are not participating in the College Football Playoff National Championship game. They'll have a later date to commit or announce that they're returning for college football next season. So that timeline wisely, obviously, extended. Look, we'd all, without question, love to see Jeremiah back inside Notre Dame Stadium for one final season. While the Irish could very well be a preseason top 5 entering the 26-27 campaign, you would think a return by Love would most assuredly have them inside the top 3. I mean, this is a big, loaded group coming back across the board next season. Add in what the incoming 26 recruiting class looks like, and it is just a powerful collection of football players. Regardless, Jeremiah Love has done everything right, and he's earned the right to do what he thinks is best for himself and his family. There's absolutely no doubt about that. There will be some chatter around the upcoming decision and what he will and won't do, and that's to be expected. And it will create that conversation. Oh, maybe he stays, maybe he goes. I think the lean is that he's going to enter the draft. He'll be probably a top 10, at least top 15 pick, maybe even higher, for as great as he's been throughout his career for the University of Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman is doing his darndest to get him to return one more year, but everybody knows you're a player like this, someone who means so much to that community, as I talked about yesterday, helping the local youth around the South Bend area. Just a special person. But when you do what you do on the gridiron, the next level is going to take note. And when you put up numbers like that and you showcase just a high level in IQ for the game and unreal, maybe unmatched athleticism, it's hard to ignore the idea of going to that next level, earning that money, and solidifying yourself as really one of the best football players in the country on any level. Some coaching news now, and Notre Dame defensive line coach Al Washington has been in the news in recent days as he's among the candidates to become the next defensive coordinator at rival Boston College. Yes, I still consider the Eagles a true rival. I know many disagree with that. Eagles head coach Bill O'Brien fired his defensive coordinator Tim Lewis 10 days ago. That was part of a staff reload, which is actually still ongoing after a really brutal year in Chestnut Hill. So that created the opening for a new leader on the defensive staff at 41. Washington is only 2 years older than Marcus Freeman, and though still incredibly young, he's already worked with some great defensive minds over the years, including recently with former Notre Dame DC and current Cincinnati Bengals defensive coordinator Al Golden. He's also an alum of the Chestnut Hill School, so it really should come as no surprise that Washington would be up for a position of this magnitude, given his connection to the university and the great work he's done on the gridiron with the guys in South Bend. It's another recent dip here into the coaching turnover pool for Notre Dame, though nothing here is set in stone right now. Last week, you'll remember, it was linebackers coach Max Buller who returned to his alma mater, Michigan State, joining Pat Fitzgerald's staff as he takes the reins in a new era of Michigan State Spartan football. And as I said then, the idea that Irish coaches are earning national notice is great for the program. It's another sign that tremendous things continue to happen from player development, recruiting, and relatability perspectives, getting on that student-athlete level. Good teams have good coaches on staff. As such, those same good teams usually produce even better coaches who sit as very appealing to other programs. Al Washington is certainly one of those coaches worthy of larger looks, and it would appear Bill O'Brien and Boston College are giving him just that. I did think I saw maybe Al Golden. They might be kicking the tires on maybe perhaps bringing him back from the NFL and into the coaching ranks, a connection there, relationship he has with Bill O'Brien. It'd be interesting. I don't think Al Golden, at least from what I had heard or read, has really much interested in leaving the NFL right now with the Cincinnati Bengals. I know it hasn't been a great year for them, but it'd be interesting to see. I think Al Washington would be a great fit for this, especially anytime you can go back to your alma mater. It makes a ton of sense. He's done a lot of good things here in South Bend for the Notre Dame football defensive line primarily, but he's one of these guys that is very impactful across the board. He'd be missed, but we've seen Notre Dame with the incredible ability to rebound and reload, not just with coaches, but with players as well. I want to close with something today. A close friend shared it with me on Tuesday morning. And while the topic has a tendency to be uncomfortable for many, I felt this was too significant to ignore, and not necessarily for a good reason. As a matter of fact, not a good reason at all. Last week, a piece by the Chicago Sun-Times was published that basically suggested the idea that part of the reason the Notre Dame football team was not selected for the 12-team college football playoff this time around, mind you, one season, as we know, after playing for a college football national championship, was because its head coach, Marcus Freeman, is black. At first, I thought, honestly, this was one of those Onion type pieces. You all know the Onion. They poke fun at happenings across the world in different areas, entertainment, politics, sports. Until I came to reading the article written by one Scoop Jackson dives into this absurd idea about midway through, and I'll quote: "Not saying that Freeman being black is the reason ND found itself, quote, disrespected the way it was, but the feeling that there might be some connection, be it strategic or happenstance, between the color of his skin and the treatment given to the university is the feeling that, say within, even as we see evidence to refute that feeling, even as no one seemed to scream it out loud in the media, it remained quietly impossible to ignore." And that is the end of the section that I snipped for you. Run-on sentence and word salad aside, this is an absurd take, and it's one that's completely baseless and dangerous. At no point did anything like this ever cross the minds of myself or friends, some of whom, yes, are big football fans, and they happen to be black, when the Irish didn't earn entry into the CFP field. Not once. According to Jackson, even though media members didn't say it, the Irish didn't make the field not because they started 0-2, not because Miami owned the hard-fought head-to-head advantage over Notre Dame, not because the CFP committee wrongly placed Alabama with 3 losses in over Notre Dame. No, Notre Dame was not selected for the 2025-26 college football playoff because their head coach is black. Also, if you wanted to pile on, why are we ignoring the fact that Marcus Freeman has Asian heritage that he is incredibly proud of, well documented? And he should be. Look, I know topics like this get uncomfortable. I am also completely aware that there are people in this world, including in the United States of America, who do not feel heard, valued, or appreciated. Many of those people, sadly, feel it is due to things like race and religion, just to name a couple. And it's horrible, and it's horrifying. I've had to have conversations like this with different student populations, and I love my kids. They can be a pain in the ass. Parents know what I'm talking about, but I love them. It's not a thing I wouldn't do for these kids. That's why you become a teacher. But this article is the truest form of race baiting there is, and it is a joke that it was published. Just to get even more on a personal level, I always tell you, when you do shows like this, and any broadcaster, anyone in media, men and women way beyond what I do, and I love this, you got to respect your audience and get to them one-to-one on a level, and I try to do that with each and every show, and I know some of you guys really hate the headlines. I get it. But to get more on a personal level here, just so you all know, I'm not coming at you as just some guy battling a racial topic only to hear my own voice, or a guy who, quote-unquote, doesn't want to hear it from those from different racial backgrounds. My daughter's Asian. And I can tell you that during the COVID-19 pandemic, there were a lot of assholes around my area in New York City, and you saw it in the news, who took the pandemic out on people of Asian descent because they're simply lousy people. And I had to have some uncomfortable conversations with her mom, who obviously is Asian, who was a nurse during the pandemic and still is, because it became a safety concern. While she was not directly attacked, she saw it. She saw it in words, looks, and the actions of others to others. Those people were attacked specifically because they were Asian, plain and simple. That's racism. What this article by Jackson is doing is trying to incorrectly rile people up as a way to say that the CFP committee, again, who you know I am no defender of when it specifically comes to their decision making, that the CFP committee is racist because they left Notre Dame out due to the team being led by a black man. It's absurd. It's insane. And it's just another way for someone to attempt to create division and start a war of words. And I'm probably giving the headline and the conversation that the damn guy's looking for. Don't fall for it. Marcus Freeman is an NFL head coaching candidate because he's damn good at his job. The guy could be purple and green for all anybody would care. He can coach, he can lead, he can motivate, he can relate to you. I, for one, like all of you, want him leading our beloved Fighting Irish for as long as possible. This article, in many ways, is actually a smack in the face of Marcus Freeman. And it is just shameful. You know this is an overwhelming positive show. We like to have a lot of fun. I know a lot of you guys and girls like to rib me, and I get it. That's what makes us human. We have a lot of fun here. But it's based in respect. We don't have to agree on everything, and a lot of the time we don't. I'm not here to convince you to agree with anything I have to say. I'm just trying to bring a little different, more human perspective, perhaps, have a little bit of fun, and come from the fan perspective. I got some hooks out there, and I got some friends in the media in the know with Notre Dame football, but I like to do this stuff on my own, and I rely on their assists when I need them. I think you all know that by now, all right? Have an appreciation for you, the audience, respect for people. I did not appreciate reading this piece that just suggests, and you can read it, you can look it up, Chicago Sun-Times, to suggest that even 0.0000001% of the reason that the Notre Dame Fighting Irish football program was not accepted into the field of the college football playoff this year was because their head coach is black. How you could even put that into print, and then there's other areas in the article that reference people that are going to say exactly what I'm saying, that I'm in denial, that people don't want to have those conversations. I'll have the conversations with you because people should be based and treated with equality and equitable access to things. This is just nonsense, and it's insulting. I think it's a bad look for that author. I think it's a bad look for the publication. And if I'm anyone involved with this Notre Dame football program, I got a lot of things I want to say to the College Football Playoff Committee. That's for damn sure. And I'm not one to defend them. But to say that they didn't pick Notre Dame for entry into the college football playoff in large part was due to having an African American as a head coach is bullshit. With that, have a great rest of your day. I'll see you tomorrow. And as always, go Irish.